Hello Royals, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Royalty Cut here, and in today's tutorial I'll be taking you through the process of how to cut and sew this beautiful Basque short dress that you see over here, that has a balloon sleeve, that has a gathers at the end of it, and also a sweetheart neckline at the center part of this dress. If this is a video you're interested in, please watch to the end, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. So basically for this tutorial, these are the equipment that I'll be working with. These are the materials. And the first material I have here is my pattern paper that I'll be using to draft the black part of this dress. So this is my pattern paper. The second material here is a black crepe. So for this black crepe, I have 1 yard of it. I don't know if you can see. So for this other material, it's also a light flowered crepe, a designed crepe. And I have about 2 yards of this. I also have an elastic band that we'll be using for the sleeve part of this dress, and this is half inch of an elastic. So the next thing I have here is also a matching zipper for the back piece of this dress, and these are the only materials that I'll be working with. So let's start with the drafting of the black piece of this dress. Actually, for the drafting of the upper part, which is the black piece that I told you about that we're making use of this pattern paper with. Now this is what I have here, and my pattern paper is folded into two, and this edge that you see here is the closed edge of this pattern paper. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do now is to draw a line at this tip here that will be serving as our shoulder line. Now you can also go ahead and use the border of your paper for your shoulder line, but mine is not equal, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line to define the shoulder line. So this line I have here now is my shoulder line, and I'm going to go ahead and mark the shoulder here for you to be able to identify it. Now for the very other vertical measurement, just go ahead from your shoulder, go ahead and measure your bust point. Now the bust point that I'm working with is 10 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark 10 inches. Then from the shoulder to my waist length is 16 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark 16 inches. So for my hip length, from my shoulder to my hip length is 24 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 24 inches. Then for my knee length, from my shoulder to my knee length is 36 inches, and that is what I have at the end of this part. So I'm going to be using the end of this paper as my knee length. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to extend these lines that I marked here. I'm going to be extending it all the way down to the end of this paper. After extending the lines, this is what I have here, as you can see. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement into two. And the shoulder to shoulder measurement that I'm working with is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 8 inches at our shoulder line. I don't know if you can see. Now at that point that I marked our 8 inches of shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and measure my round armhole measurement. Now measure your armpit measurement, the round. So for me, the round measurement I have is 16 inches. I'll also go ahead and divide 16 inches into 2, and that is 8 inches. So at this point that I marked the 8 inches of our shoulder to shoulder measurement, vertically I'm going to be marking our armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. And I'm going to be connecting this point of the shoulder down to this point in a vertical way, and horizontally I'm going to be extending this armhole measurement. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to work on the neck area. Now, if you note that this neck area is not too down, so for the width of this neck area, we are going to be working with 3 inches for the width. Now, for the depth, we are going to be working with 2 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the neck width and the neck depth together to get our neck curve. So after that, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is to work for our shoulder slope. So at the shoulder line that I have here, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. Now this 1 inch I have here, I'm going to be connecting it to our neck width in a vertical way for us to get our shoulder slope, just like you see me do over here. So this is our shoulder slope. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to measure what I have from this 1 inch that I marked earlier down to this armhole length that we marked. So I have 7 inches remaining here. I'm going to go ahead and divide the 7 inches into 2, and it will give me 3.5. So I marked down the 3.5. At the point that I marked down 3.5, I'm going to be coming in at that point by half of an inch, just like you see me do over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect this half of an inch that I have here into this 1 inch line that I have. Now make sure that you blend it in so that it doesn't give you a sharp edge, just like you see me do over here. Now, after that, at this point that I extended our armhole measurement line, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round bust, which is 36 inches, into 4. And 36 inches into 4 is 9 inches. So from this folded edge, I'm going to go ahead and mark 9 inches at this point that I marked our armhole line. And I'm going to go ahead and mark it this way, just like you see me do here. And I'll also be adding 1.5 seam allowance to it. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it down also. Now the 1.5 seam allowance is optional. You can choose to do half of an inch, you can choose to do 1 inch depending on what you're working with, but just make sure that you get your accurate round body measurement perfectly. So after marking the 1.5 inch for the seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and use my curve ruler to connect from this half of an inch that you see here into this 1.5 inch seam allowance that we added. So I'm going to go ahead and create our armhole curve. So after that, this is what we have here. I don't know if you can see. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to come at the bust point area that we marked 10 inches vertically. I'm going to be imputing my round bust measurement 2 divided by 4, which is the 9 inches we added earlier, plus 1.5 seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Now I'm going to be connecting the measurement we have at this armhole line down to this bust point line that we have here. As you can see, now at the waist length, we are going to go ahead and divide our round waist measurement into 4. And the round waist that I'm working with is 32 inches. 32 inches divided by 4 is 8.25. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 8.25 at this point. And I'll also go ahead and add 1.5 seam allowance to this waist measurement we have. And I'm going to go ahead and connect this measurement we have here down to the bust point measurement we have in a horizontal way. Now, after that, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do is to work at our hip length. Now, you also go ahead and divide your round hip measurement into 4. And my round hip measurement is 42 inches. 42 inches divided by 4 is 10.5. So at my hip length, I'm going to go ahead and measure 10.5 inches, just like you see me do over here. And I'm going to go ahead and add extra 1.5 seam allowance to this dress, just like you see. So with my curve ruler, I'm going to be connecting in a curvy way too, from the waist length from the waist measurement we have here down to this hip measurement that we marked earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it. Now after connecting the line, now remember that the end of this our paper is our knee measurement, our knee length. So we are not going to be really making use of it. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is at this point that we marked our hip length, which is 25 inches, I'm going to go ahead and come down by 3 inches. I don't know if you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 3 inches from our hip length measurement. And I'm going to go ahead and extend the line. Now, after extending the line for our back waist, effect, next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to connect this round hip measurement that we have here into this folded tip edge that you see over here. I don't know if you understand. So just watch what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be connecting from this measurement down to this folded edge for us to get that back waist effect. Now you can also choose to make yours pointed. You can also choose to make yours a little bit sharp, but just make sure you give it a curvy part at the end of the day. So this is basically what I did. I don't know if you can see. So now these 3 inches we marked here was actually a guide for us to be able to know when to land to this point. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is for us to cut this pattern paper out. Then I'll be taking you through the process of how to use the same pattern paper to cut your front piece and your back piece. So I'm going to go ahead and cut from the neck area down to the shoulder slope, to the armpit, then to the sides, and then to this back sweat effect that we have here. Now note that while cutting this, you will not be adding allowance to it on the paper. You'll be adding allowance to your main fabric, but if you choose to add allowance to your paper, just go ahead and add half of an inch at the neck, half of an inch at the shoulder, then cut the armhole equally, the sides equally, and add half of an inch at this bust width. So for me, I'm going to be adding my own half of an inch on the paper to make it easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this pattern out. So basically, after cutting this out, this is what we have. I don't know if you can see. Now, I almost forgot that there was a design at the front neck area, the sweetheart diamond shaped part something at the front piece of this dress. So I'm just going to go ahead and take you through the process of how to do it. Now, for that diamond shaped part of it, I'm going to go ahead and mark from this neck depth that we have initially, which is the 2 inch we marked initially. Don't take your measurement from the ½ inch that you added to your neck area. If you added it to your fabric, just go ahead and take your measurement from the line that you marked. So from that point, I'm going to come down by 3 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark 3 inches at this point. Now at this point that I marked in 3 inches, I will be going in by 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler to connect the line in a vertical way this way. I don't know if you can see. Now, after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is from this point that I marked 3 inches, I'm going to go ahead and come down by 2.5 inches. Now, note that this second 2.5 inch that I marked here, if you should add more inches lesser, it will be revealing your boobs. So for you to make it moderate, just go ahead and mark 2.5 inch or even do 3 inches at least. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and mark 3.5 inch, as you can see. And I'll also go ahead and go in by the same 3.5 inch that I marked initially for the upper body, for this upper side. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the lines too. Now after that, I'm going to go ahead to and connect this 3.5 inch at this point in a horizontal way. So after that, this is what we have here. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to measure this line that we have here, this horizontal line that I just marked here. I measured it and I had about 2.5 inch. So 2.5 inch divided by 2 is 1.25. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark the center part of it, which is 1.25. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to connect from this 3 inch that we marked here in a vertical way. I'm going to be connecting it into this center line that we marked here. Then from the center too, I'm going to be connecting it into this 2.5 inch that we marked here. Just watch what I'm doing. So after connecting it, this is what we have here. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut open this V-shaped part of it, not the block place. I'm just going to go ahead and cut open this V part that we made here, just like you see me do here. So after cut opening it, this is what it is looking like. I don't know if you can see. It is already giving us that V shape at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up for you to see what it looks like. So opening it up, I don't know if you can see, this is the neck part of it. Now I did not add ½ of an inch before cutting it because I'm going to be folding it in or using a bias for it. So anyhow, it's going to be open more. So that was why I did not choose to do it more open. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do is to use this piece that you see over here to cut our back piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric for us to cut it out. So basically at this point, after folding my fabric into two, my fabric is on fold. I went ahead to place this pattern paper on it. Now before placing the pattern paper on it, I left about 1 inch. I don't know if you can see. I left about 1 inch at this center part of it. This 1 inch will be serving as our zipper allowance. So from the 1 inch that I marked from the shoulder line down to this point, I went ahead to place my fabric on the 1 inch line. So for your back piece, just go ahead and add extra 1 inch. Then from the 1 inch line that you marked, go ahead and place your pattern paper. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to cut the sides of this fabric, and I'll be slit opening the center part that we folded our fabric into two. Now for this back piece, also note that you won't be cut opening the center front we have here. Just go ahead and leave the front piece this way it is. So at this point, after cutting this out, this is what I have here. I don't know if you can see. So I also forgot to tell you that if you didn't add ½ of an inch on your pattern paper for the neck width and the shoulder slope, just go ahead and add it on your main fabric. So I didn't add mine because I already added mine to my pattern paper. So our back piece is ready. I went ahead to slit this open. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to pick up this piece. At this point that we have our 1 inch, I'm going to be notching it for us to be able to identify our zipper allowance. So I notched it open, and I'm going to be placing this pattern paper aside so that I'll open it up and show you what the back piece is already looking like. So at the end of the day, this is what our back piece should be looking like. I don't know if you can see. So this is the back effect at the end part of it. Now the next thing we are going to go ahead and do is to place this aside and fold our fabric again into two. Now this time around, we are going to be cutting the front piece of this dress. Folding my pattern paper into two, just like you see over here, I'm going to go ahead and place our pattern paper on this folded fabric that you see over here. So I placed the pattern paper on it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut through with this pattern paper. I'll be cutting the sides to be equal. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut open this center part that we have here, just like I told you earlier. Cutting this open, this is what I have here. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up for you to see what the front piece looks like. So this is what our front piece is looking like. As you can see, this is the diamond neck shape of it, and this is our back area at the end of our full length. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is, at this time it is optional. You can go ahead and fold in this part and top stitch it all the way round, or you can also use a bias for it. Anyone would do. Now also use a bias for the neck area, or you go ahead and cut a facing for the neck area of the front piece and the back piece. So for me, I'll be using a bias to turn the neck area of the two back pieces that we have here. After piping the neck area with my bias for the front piece and the back piece, this is what I have here. Now for the front piece, I also went ahead to fold in the diamond shape part of it. And as you can see, I'm having a clean edge at the end of the day. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this piece and face it right side facing each other with the back piece, just like you see me do over here. Now I'm going to be placing each side of the back piece right side facing each other to the front piece this way, just as you can see. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this other side. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to use about 1/2 inch to join the shoulders together, and also use 1.5 inch that we added earlier for the seam allowance while cutting it. I'm going to be using the 1.5 inch to join the two sides of this dress, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get the gather area part of the folded edge. After joining the shoulders and the sides of this dress, this is what we have here. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over to the right side. So this is what we have in total, the front piece and the back piece. As you can see, the back waist area at it. So I'm going to go ahead and place this aside for us to be able to work on the down ruffles of this dress. So I have this fabric that I cut out from the other crepe that I told you earlier, and the length of this fabric is very, 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 very long. The length is very long, so I think I have about 70 because I joined two pieces here in total, because after cutting it, it was not giving me, so I just had to cut another piece and join it. So what I have here is 70, what I have here is 70, so you can just go ahead and calculate it, and I think it is 140 by length. So for the length of this band of the ruffle, I have about 140. So you can join yours if yours is not up to it. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and take you through now is the full length of your dress. Now remember that we added 3 inches to our hip length. The hip length we are working with is 24 inches, and I added 3 inches to it, making it 27 inches in total. So the full length of the dress that I'm working with is 39 inches. I don't know if you understand. So I went ahead to subtract the 27 inches away from the 39 inches. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Let me go again. Remember that our hip length was 24 inches, and I added extra 3 inch for the back effect at the down part, making it 27 inches. So the full length of the dress that I'm working with is 39 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 27 inches away from the 39 inches. So what I have left should be about 13 inches. So what I have left is about 13 inches. And I went ahead to cut the length of this band you see over here, the ruffles that we'll be using, to be 39 inches, although 13 inches, sorry, although I added 1 inch to it for the folding of the down part, making it 14 inches in total. So just go ahead and do your own calculation to get the full length of your dress. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to run a loose stitch at the two tip of this ruffles band that we have here. I'm going to be running a loose stitch on it, and I'm going to be dragging my gathers for us to get it. Now, while dragging the gathers, the length that you will leave about should be the length of this piece that you have here. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain how to gather it and leave the length you have. So for this back piece that we have here that is open on our upper body, I'm going to be measuring from that 1 inch that we have for our zipper all the way down, just like you see me do over here. So I'll measure it to the other point. So I have about 47 here, and I measured at the end of this our upper body, and it is 47. And remember that the length of this ruffle piece that we cut out is 140. So after sewing a loose stitch on top of it and dragging it while making my ruffles, I'll make sure that the length should be 47 inches, so that when we attach it to this upper body, it will be exactly the same length. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Basically, at this point, I was done sewing the loose stitch, and I also went ahead to gather the pieces just like I showed you earlier, and this is what it is looking like. I also measured this part that I gathered, and it was up to 47 inches that we got from the measurement of the upper body. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to get to the center part of this piece. This way, I'm going to go ahead and get to the center part. Then I'll go ahead and notch it. Now, after notching the center part, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to open this up. That part that I notched, I'm going to go ahead and bring the upper body that we have. Also go ahead and place it equally for you to get the center part for this upper body too, this way. So also go ahead and notch the center part of it for you to be able to identify it. Now, after notching the center part, go ahead and place it right side facing each other with your gathered fabric, just like I'm doing over here. I don't know if you can see. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is to take this over to the sewing machine and use about half of an inch to stitch from this center part all the way down to the end of this piece, and also use half of an inch to stitch from this center part all the way down to the end of this piece. Basically, at this point, I was done attaching the gathered piece to this dress, and this is what it is looking like. I don't know if you can see this. So this is what we have here. Now the next thing we are going to go ahead and work on right now is the sleeve area and the zipper part of this dress. So for the zipper part of this dress, I'm just going to go ahead and attach my zipper to the back piece. Just go ahead and do yours the normal way you attach your zipper. So for the zipper, where it will be stopping is from the neck area. I'm just going to go ahead. Remember, we subtracted 2 inches away from the neck area. That 2 inches our neck depth. So our hip length is 24 inches. So this is where 24 inches is. So definitely zipper will be stopping at 24 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach my zipper from this point all the way down here. And I'll also go ahead and use the 1 inch that I used to attach the zipper to close this down, to close down this remaining part down. And that will be that for the upper body. So let's go ahead and work on the sleeve area of this dress. So for the sleeve part of this dress, I went ahead to fold my fabric into four, just as you can see here, because we'll be cutting the right sleeve and the left sleeve together. So I went ahead to fold it into four this way, and my measurement will be from this two folded edge and not from this part that has an opening. So this edge here will be serving as our shoulder line, because that's where our measurement will be starting from. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to get the full length of our sleeve first. And I'm working with the full length of 24 inches. But since we'll be attaching an elastic band to this sleeve, I'm going to be adding extra 2 inch for the folding casing of the elastic band, making it 26 inches in total. So I went ahead to mark that down, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting that out, we'll go ahead and work with what we have here. So we are going to go ahead and measure our shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is 16 inches. I'll go ahead and divide 16 inches into 2, and that will give me 8 inches. So from this folded edge, I'll go in and mark 8 inches. I don't know if my check is visible. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to divide these 8 inches that I marked here into 2, and that is 4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the 4 inch down, just like you see me do over here. So after marking the 4 inch down, from this starting line we have here, I'm going to be coming down by the same 4 inch that we have earlier. So in a vertical way, I'm going to mark that 4 inch and stop at this point that we marked 8 inch. I don't know if my check is visible enough. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and extend this 4 inch we have at this center all the way down to the 4 inch we marked at this point. I don't know if you can see. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and take the horizontal measurement of the 4 inch that we have here. I'll go ahead and divide it into two, and that is 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 inch and also extend it all the way down to the measurement that we had here, just like you see me do over here. So now what we are trying to get is our sleeve cap. So after getting this mark you see over here, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to curve from this center point you have you see here all the way down to the center point of this 2 inch in a curvy way. So after that, in a curvy way downwards, I'm going to be connecting from this center point all the way down to these 8 inches that we marked earlier. Now we've gotten our sleeve cap. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now, remember that this is a balloon kind of sleeve, so you won't be needing your elbow measurement. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to measure what I have here. I have 8 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and replicate 8 inches at the full length of this sleeve that we are working with. So I went ahead to mark it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect from this sleeve cap point 8 inches in a straight way all the way down to the 8 inches that we marked at our full length. And this is basically it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. After cutting that out, as you can see, our sleeve is ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and notch the center part of this folded edge for us to be able to get to the center. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up for you to see we have 2 sleeves here in total. So this is what we have at the end of the day. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to go over to the full length of our sleeve. I'm going to create a casing for the elastic band. So I'll go ahead and fold in half of an inch first. Then the next folding I'm going to go ahead and do will be about 1 inch or 1.5 inch. Now just make sure at the end of the day that you have an opening where your elastic will be passing from. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do for this part, and also go ahead and do for this part. So basically at this point, I was done folding the end of this sleeve, just like I told you earlier. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to bring our elastic. Go ahead and measure your round wrist. Your round wrist at this point. So mine is 8 inches. Mine is 8 inches. So for the elastic, I'm going to be subtracting about 1 inch away from the 8 inches, and that is 7 inches. And if you want yours to be more tighter, just go ahead and subtract either 2 inches away from your elastic. So I'll be going with 7 inches, and this 7 inches elastic that I'm cutting, I'll be cutting it into two because we have 2 sleeves, just like you see me do here. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get my safety pin, because that is what we'll be using to insert it to this fabric. I'm going to go ahead and pin this at the end of one of my elastic and close it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it through the casing that we created earlier, just like you see me do over here. Now while doing this, just make sure you hold on to this end. Hold on to this end so that it doesn't slip into while you drag it. After inserting the elastic this way, just like you see over here, I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch down this part that I didn't attach the safety pin to. I'm going to double stitch on it so that it doesn't slip. And after double stitching on it, I'll just go ahead and remove this safety pin and also double stitch on the other end. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and attach this sleeve to our main fabric. But before attaching it, I'll also go ahead and join this open side with about half of an inch before joining it to the main fabric. So I'm also going to go ahead and do the same thing for this one, and I'll go ahead and show you what the end result looks like. So basically at this point, I was done attaching the sleeves to the dress, and this is what it is looking like. I also attached the other sleeve and also the zip that I explained earlier, and this is what it looked like at the end of the day. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to fold the end of this fabric all the way around, and basically that will be the end of this tutorial. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. See you in our next video. Bye.